But please carry on to Cleveland.
The Cavaliers drafted Evan Mobley 3rd overall. Acquired Ricky Rubio for Taurean Prince, a 2022 second from Washington and some cash. Gave Jarrett Allen 5 years and $100 million fully guaranteed, no options. And then we just sort of touched on it, got Lauri Markkanen on a 4-year, $67.5 million deal, $1 million deal, 55.4 of which is guaranteed. Only 6 is guaranteed in 24-25. Larry Nance Jr. went out, as did Denver's 2023 second rounder. And just recently, I think today maybe signed, we'll call it Wednesday, signed Kevin Pangos to a 2-year, $3.6 million deal. Second year is non-guaranteed. The notable subtractions again, Larry Nance Jr., Taurean Prince, and your grade, Dan, is?
I gave him a D+, and I might even just go straight D or D-. I don't understand what the Cavs are doing at this point. I get taking Evan Mobley if you consider him the best player available. I'm even kind of on board with the Ricky Rubio trade because they need just a steady captain in that backup point guard slot. But like, what the fuck are you doing up front? Like, it's fine to pay Jarrett Allen if there are no sign and trade avenues there. What was his leverage for 5 years and $100 million? It was, if Charlotte wasn't giving it to him, and first of all, they can't even give him that 5th year. So how the hell that happened is beyond me. Kudos to Jarrett Allen, though, by the way. And now you want to play him alongside Evan Mobley so that you can, cap the ceiling on Evan Mobley, both on defense and offense. We just watched Evan Mobley thrive as a point center in Summer League. I don't see how he's going to make a huge defensive impact at the 4, playing a ton of minutes there. I think he's much less of an offensive mismatch at the 4, if he's even a mismatch at all. He dribbled into some jumpers during Summer League, but like, this isn't someone who's operating at full tilt when he's working off the dribble. So maybe they'll find ways to play him at the 5, but hey, that gets a lot more difficult when you also decide to give Lauri Markkanen $55+ million guaranteed. WTF there again. This team needed wings, and they decided to get another power forward, another big man. And I understand it from the timeline of this team where Lauri Markkanen is younger than Larry Nance Jr. That is where the fit just kind of peters out for me. Lauri Markkanen's a better shooter. He doesn't do anything else. He's not going to help you on defense. He's not like some great rebounder. Maybe there's more to him putting the ball on the floor that we didn't see in Chicago, except when Jim Boylan would give him those like 4 seconds left on the shot clock bombs from the post that Chicago was feeding him 2 years ago. But if you're doing that, so we're going to take the ball out of Darius Garland's hands or Collin Sexton's hands, or hey, Evan Mobley's hands, the guy you just drafted at number 3, I am not about it. And you could have kept Jarrett Allen if there wasn't a sign and trade option out there. Just what were the terms of this deal? And then to get the Lauri Markkanen move on top of that, no. No. Not for me. And I'll accept the Larry Nance Jr. trade maybe if Markkanen was cheaper. And maybe, like I said, there's another level of Markkanen that we haven't seen. This team was scared of paying Collin Sexton, so he was made available per The Athletic. Maybe that was from Sexton's camp. But you're just totally okay with giving Jarrett Allen $100 million in a league that's gravitating increasingly, more frequently, towards centers who are not like Jarrett Allen, where his ceiling is like Clint Capella. It's not Rudy Gobert. Like, that ship has sailed. Jarrett Allen is not going to get to Rudy Gobert's level. So I am just miffed at what this team is doing. And if they end up eventually trading Collin Sexton or not paying him, but they've paid Jarrett Allen and also Lauri Markkanen, I'm not about it. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have taken Evan Mobley. If you think he's the best player available, fine. But maybe put him in a better situation to succeed. And hey, Kevin Love is just still, you can't penalize them for not trading him because he's essentially dead money at this point. But like, what are we doing here? Seriously, just what are we doing here? And your wings on this team are just so now thin. Like, okay, maybe Isaac Okoro breaks out. I think the Jetty Osman ship has sailed. Maybe you really like Lamar Stevens. Dylan Windler hasn't shown that he can stay healthy. I honestly hated their offseason in general. And I'm still, again, I think the word I'm right now with Cleveland is miffed. And I like the young talent in a vacuum to have Jarrett Allen, to have Evan Mobley, to have Isaac Okoro, to have Sexton, to have Darius Garland. But you've done very little to optimize this hodgepodge of solid talent that you've now amassed. And the Lauri Markkanen just pushed it over the top for me. They might have been able to pull out like a C- for me. But that was just an abysmal transaction for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I had him initially as a C-. And as I'm thinking back over it, I don't know how it was that high. I think it had a lot to do with like Markkanen, at least, and you alluded to this, is kind of the type of guy that a team in Cleveland's position should be interested in, but as like a buy low distressed asset type of thing, and not someone you pay 67 million potentially. I guess they probably would be happy if they ended up paying him the 67 million, because it means he was good enough to guarantee that for them to pick up the guarantee in the fourth year of that deal. But to pay 55 and change guaranteed regardless, but like that's just that doesn't square to me. I think I like the Mobley pick. I like the upside, the ceiling he has. God knows if he's going to be this version of like Bam Adebayo that also gets his own looks off the dribble and is even bigger. Good lottery ticket. I'm fine with that at 3, but like, do we really give the Cavs credit for taking someone that I think most people had mocked at in the top 3 anyway?
That's a good point.
But yeah, the Jarrett Allen signing, I just like. I'm sure we did a free agency recap, and that was my least favorite deal of the whole thing. I do remember that. I have nothing to add to that. You've said it. You can't pay a center that much money. And the 5th year is like just reeks of like a promise they made when they got him initially. Is like, we've got this in the bag. I don't know. And then the Ricky Rubio thing. I love the adult in the room idea. But Ricky Rubio does not tend to play his best basketball when he's on bad teams. Like he's like Utah Jazz, the good Jazz Ricky Rubio was something. Good Suns Rubio was something. He I don't know. I like him a lot, but he doesn't tend to perform that well when there's not a lot to play for, and the Cavs don't have a lot to play for. So we're going down to a D+ or D or whatever. I don't know if you're actually keeping track of these, but the Cavs offseason sucked, and I hated it.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with I'm gonna give him a D. I'm like tempted to give them an F, but I reserved that for one team this offseason that we will not get to on this podcast. Spoiler alert. And the other thing is like, why did they have to give up the pick in the Ricky Rubio deal? I guess he's a better player than Taurean Prince, but they were saving the Timberwolves money and giving a player that is like, man's a more desirable position technically, especially for them who are so thin on the wings. I just thought that was. And it was Washington's 2022 second. We don't know where Washington's going to be at the end of next season. So I thought that was a little bizarre.